Hello people of YouTube, my name is Brad, this is my channel Adamant Orange, and Happy New Year. This is the first 3D metal model news of 2020. I did take a little bit of time off, as I mentioned in my last video last year, that I wasn't going to do a video the following weekend because it was my birthday. So it was really very nice to take some time off to just kind of chill and sit around the house and enjoy Christmas and my birthday and the New Year's with friends and family and not have to worry about making videos for a while. But I'm back. I started a build and I'm still working on it. But anyway, this week in 3D metal model news. I was surprised this morning when I got up and looked on Metal Earth's website because there were some new models added through the night. Often I stay up sometimes till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night doing research to try and get ready, and there was nothing last night. This morning we have 3 new models showing up. 2 completely new. One was previewed in a newsletter fairly recently. The one that was previewed was the V22 Osprey, and there's a limited amount of information available on the Metal Earth site. We have this MMS 212 2.5 or 2.5 sheets. It's listed as a challenging model, and the propellers are still listed as pointing up. There was a question at one point about them rotating. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to rotate. I would be quite surprised if they rotated. And looking at it, it almost looks like there's a section where something is bent up, so it looks like it's kind of a solid piece. It does have some landing gears on it. Looks to be some nice detail. I'm very interested and would very much like to build that model. It does also look like it has kind of an older stand mount or stand for it, older style stand I meant to say. It looks like one of the ones that connects to the body and is not separate like some of the Star Wars models have been recently, and the plane that I did very recently, the bomber. It looks like it's kind of an older style with tabs go in and connect it to it. And with it have landing gears, it's kind of a mixed bag. Would be nice to set it on the landing gears, but maybe the landing gears won't be that secure. Anyway, the other model that's showing up, I'm rather excited about. Kind of wondered if they were going to do something like this. We have Stormbreaker, which if you do not know what Stormbreaker is, it is a Marvel thing. It is basically Thor's replacement for his hammer in the Marvel movie universe, possibly the comics, because I honestly don't keep up with the comics. Thor goes from using the hammer to using Stormbreaker, and actually I think he has both at one point. But anyway, Stormbreaker MMS 327 is listed as 2 sheets, listed as a moderate build. At first look, it looks like it's positioned kind of like Mjolnir was, the hammer, where it's just kind of laid on a rock, whereas Mjolnir was kind of a mix of some sort of, I don't know, stand with pieces of rock around it. If you look through the pictures though, you see that they have the axe or Stormbreaker in different positions, and in one of those pictures they're actually listed, shown separately. So it looks like that rock has a split in it to where you can possibly position the axe in different ways. My first thought when I saw the first picture with it sitting up kind of on the end was that maybe there's a magnet in it. Don't know if there's a magnet or not. Would be a little bit surprised. I've not known of any Metal Earth models coming with magnets that I can remember, though other brands have done that. But it would be nothing to hide a magnet inside of that base, probably. I did something like that with Mjolnir. I hid a magnet inside so that the hammer would actually stay and not constantly fall off of its little base. And last but not least, no, there's already a lot of people excited about this. I've seen this has already been posted on the Metal Earth subreddit, is Hogwarts Castle. This is apparently an Iconics model. It's ICX 138, listed as an expert model. It has 4 sheets, which leads me to believe, along with the pictures, that this is a larger model. I really hope so. There's no assembled size on any of these models yet. No 360 views on them yet. The roof on the Hogwarts Castle is white, which I don't believe the Hogwarts Castle has a white roof, so I'm guessing it's kind of made as if it's in the snow. Interesting. It looks like it's a fairly standard sort of castle build with spires and towers and whatnot. It does look like it's got some nice details. I'm excited about it. I know a lot of the other people are very excited about this one. I'm also excited about Stormbreaker and the Osprey, but anyway, it would seem that either the Harry Potter models do sell or they're expected to sell a lot, because we've been slowly getting more Harry Potter stuff out here and there. Beyond that, what I had listed in my notes to talk about today, as far as Metal Earth is concerned, is here in the U.S. there are a lot of year-end sales going on. Some of them are extending over into the new year. One of the things I've seen is Barnes & Noble. I've seen some posts about people finding models in Barnes & Noble marked down half price, specifically the exclusive, the Targaryen Sigil and Dragon exclusive combination that came out some time back. Looks like it was, some people have been able to find it at their local Barnes & Noble marked down. I went to my local Barnes & Noble and they had absolutely no Metal Earth models that I could find. Now, every Barnes & Noble is different. My Barnes & Noble doesn't tend to have a lot of those kind of things. I have seen them clearance metal, or heard of them clearancing Metal Earth models before, but they never seem to have much of a collection. Probably less than, say, Hobby Lobby would have. Last time I was there, they had a few Star Wars, they had a couple of architecture, and a couple of Harry Potter. When I went there, well, that was last time, as in before I heard about this sale. The last time I was there looking, after hearing about this sale, they had nothing, zilch, at my store. So your experience may vary. However, I did check online originally and nothing was clearanced online, but that changed as of, I believe, 2 nights ago or 2 mornings ago. It does look like they are starting to clearance out some of their online Metal Earth models on Barnes & Noble. I'll put a link to a search for Fascinations. Seems to be the easiest way to find it. If you search for Metal Earth, you may or may not find everything, but Fascinations, searching for Fascinations on Barnes & Noble's website seems to bring up all the models, including the exclusive. I ordered it for myself. Last I checked, it was still in stock. But again, there'll be links in the description down below. Also, if you have a Go Calendar Toys and Game store near you, I have one in my local mall. They have a lot of calendars, but they have other knick-knack stuff like vinyl pops and toys and odd and end things. And my local store, as well as several other people's, have been carrying Metal Earth models. A limited selection, but end of the year, they put them on clearance half off. I got a nice collection of models that I didn't have from my local store for half off as well, including a Game of Thrones model I didn't have, a couple of space-themed models that I didn't have, and some other things. Google to see if you have a Go Calendar store in your area. Check out your Barnes & Noble. There are a couple of places that you might be able to pick up some clearance models, get a discount on Metal Earth models. Maybe you have some Christmas money to spend. But I wanted to throw that out there because I'm certainly taking advantage of it. Peacecool also put a model up on their website here very recently of a, forgive me if I get this wrong, looks like Gungan Palace, or the English name Moon Palace. It is a kind of dreamy looking picture, very fantasy looking picture of the model. Again, I don't know anything about Chinese architecture and whatnot. It is neat looking. I did want to point it out. It is listed as 7.5 sheets, 429 pieces with 8 accessories. The metal is listed as being brass. The finish size is 21 by 17 by 8 centimeters, 6 out of 7 stars. The release date is sometime this month in January. I'm not real sure. I think the 10th, but I'm not real sure. Again, with Peacecool models, I'm getting this information directly from the Peacecool website, which is way sooner than it's usually available in stores. So even though it says, or even though I'm speculating this release date of the 10th, it'll probably be later in January before it starts showing up on places like AliExpress and crazytoys.co.uk. There was a post recently on the Metal Earth subreddit by Brother L1 who posted basically a couple of pictures with the title of new Microworld models. It looks to be a field rescue craft and a bear treasure king is what I can make out from the pictures. I do not know where this information comes from. Certainly not saying it's untrue. Probably is coming. I just wasn't able to find those models anywhere in any of my usual sources. So I certainly can't tell you where to buy them right now. But it does seem that they're out there somewhere or coming soon. Don't have any more information than that particular Reddit post, but I will put a link in the description to that post down below. So that if more information comes available, you can see it for yourself. Looking around on my usual sources such as AliExpress and Crazy Toys, I don't really see anything new out there from anyone, including the Field Rescue Craft or the Bear Treasure King. I did notice that it looks like the 2 different colored dancing lions are available on crazytoys.co.uk as well as Crazy Toys AliExpress store. I don't think they were there a couple weeks ago when I made the last video. They were still listed as coming soon. And that's all the new models and new information I can find this week. For this week's question of the week or topic of the week, because it kind of sometimes wavers back and forth, it's been a couple of weeks. And what I've decided to do this week is talk about some comments that were on my last video. I was thinking about during Christmas time while I was taking a break that usually around Christmas time, around this time of year, I get an influx of new viewers on my channel because there's people have gotten these models, 3D metal models, Metal Earth models, what have you, as Christmas gifts. And so they're looking how to build them, they're looking for help. And there's an influx of new people in the hobby. And so it occurred to me that I should probably put together a video that goes over some of the basics, tools, and whatnot, just to get you started and get you into making models. And I did that, and there were quite a few responses, not just from new people, but from viewers that have been around a while helping these new people, which is amazing. I'm so glad that I made that video, not just to share the information that I had to share, but because so many people stepped forward and tried to help out. Really amazing. One of the wonderful things about YouTube, and it's part of why I use YouTube and part of why I started putting these videos out there, because the community can get really amazing. Anyway, some of the comments that I received on that video from JW Prime: is there any sin in using crazy glue? The Cinderella's carriage is my 8th. Almost all these, minus the Haunted Mansion, have been not much of a problem, but there's some shit on the front of this carriage that's just ridiculous, and after 2 hours I just bent out the misaligned tabs and brought out the glue on this part and am letting it set. My confidence was so high, and then I got to this part on the model and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Even with my magnifying mirror and surgical tweezers, it was almost comical. I don't feel that there's any shame in using some glue, especially in a difficult and impossible situation. The idea, I guess, generally is that you're supposed to be able to put these models together without glue, but sometimes things happen. Sometimes the model or the metal might be weaker than usual. Sometimes, yeah, I've run into situations where I've literally sat back in my chair and you've got to be kidding me. I understand. So there are situations where I try to use it sparingly personally, but in the end, it's your model and you've got to do what you feel comfortable with. And if gobs of super glue and finishing the model is what is important to you, then use gobs of super glue and finish the model. If you don't like the way something is and you want to change it, it is your model, and do what you like. So, have I used super glue? Absolutely. I have so much as used several different types. The one that I use a lot, super glue wise, is Loctite. And I think the Loctite I use is kind of thin. I've had people suggest the thicker gel Loctite, which probably works just as well. But yeah, for inside parts, I've used Loctite super glue. It seems to hold fairly well and stand up, whereas some of the other super glue will deteriorate over time or still a little bit brittle and comes loose easily. I have so much as used hot glue before. One time. The one model that I'm thinking of is the original Snowspeeder, Star Wars Snowspeeder, with all those fins on the back. I put all the fins on, but some of them were wobbly, and there was just so much I could do. So, I think if I remember correctly, I created kind of this little toothpick litten form to hold the fins and just put a layer of hot glue across the tabs and let it cool before I finished putting that on the rest of the model. You do what you feel comfortable doing. You do what you gotta do. I've also heard of, and a few times myself, used UV glue to hold things together. Now, UV glue isn't sticky or tacky. It basically is a liquid that hardens once you shine UV light on it. So for things that are wobbly, it can come in real handy to put on a blob on the back of a tab, hold that piece straight, harden it with the UV light, and then that's going to keep it in place. There have been a few instances where I've used an extra large glob to just basically hold a part in place. I'm thinking of the Beretta. If you've seen that video, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, super glue is not a sin. It's something I try to avoid if I can, but sometimes you can't, and just go ahead and it's your model. Do what you're gonna do. From Brandon: hello Brad, I got the lighthouse and Eiffel Tower for Christmas. I am new to Metal Earth and metal models. When I was building the Eiffel Tower, I had a hard time folding the tabs 90 degrees while assembling parts when holding it. What could I do to properly hold the part and fold the tab and avoid bending parts that you shouldn't be? And this is a good question. I do talk about this sometimes in my videos, and I've even seen Fascinations starting to add it to their instructions. And step one, when you're dealing with a situation where it's maybe two flimsy parts like the sides of the Eiffel Tower, it's very difficult to hold those two parts in position and use your third hand that you don't have to fold the tab over. I get that. So what I will do in that situation is grab and lightly twist the tab. Not a full 90 degrees, just enough to put a kink in it and hold things. And assemble the model. Ideally, you'll get to a point where enough of the model is together, it's more stable and secure, then you can go back and untwist those lightly twisted tabs and then carefully fold them over. That'll get you out of a lot of sticky situations. Sometimes, even though the rest of the model is together, there just isn't much support around a particular area, and bending the tab over is still difficult. I have these rather pointed tweezers right here that I will use to grab the tab and just twist it and start the fold. Sometimes if you try to put pressure, a lot of times I'll try to put pressure on the connection to fold the tab over as tightly as possible to hold it. Sometimes that'll bend things. So sometimes you just have to grab it with the finest bit of tweezers you have and just forcefully give it that bend without putting pressure on any other part and hope that it's enough. Some situations are nearly impossible, but a lot of things can be avoided if you try to twist the tab or fold the tab itself rather than the part. And there have even been a few instances where I have, say, grabbed the part itself with maybe flat nose pliers and then use something else to kind of fold that tab over. A few suggestions. Each part is a little bit different. I just knocked something over, but that should cover most things. Now, Albert Fish, who's been around a while and asked quite a few questions, left a few different comments asking and helping other people. One of Albert Fish's comments, something to add with shipping: if you're based in the UK or anywhere outside of the USA, buying from websites in the US usually has unreasonably expensive shipping. I would definitely recommend eBay. Tons of companies sell Metal Earth, etc. with free shipping, and a few US sellers which ship a bit cheaper, about $5 for a model. That's an excellent suggestion. With me living in the US, there's only so much information I know about that, but I am aware that trying to get Metal Earth models out of the US to other countries, the shipping is really high. The one huge limitation, and I deal with this not just with Metal Earth models, but with some of the stuff that I 3D print. It can be thin and fit in an envelope, but because it's not flexible, it throws it into a whole other category of shipping, and that really stinks, because I can take simple Metal Earth model, which I could ship anywhere in the US for $2 or $3. Just shipping it to the UK jumps it up to $20. It's ridiculous, and I hate it, and there's just very little I can do about it, unfortunately. So there's just some good workarounds. You might be able to find stuff on eBay. I know some companies in other countries are setting up, especially in Australia, to import Metal Earth models to make them more available, but it is still a struggle. Another one of Albert Fish's comments, one of the main tools that honestly is so useful is this thin metal pencil shape with a slit in the end, perfect for twisting tabs, especially in small areas. You push the pieces together and twist. I think you mentioned it in another vid, but seriously, this tool is really useful for tab twisting, especially parts that are deep and you can't get the thicker tweezers in there. That's the main tool that I use. I'm somewhat familiar with that tool. You're right, Albert. I think I have mentioned that before. I've seen other people use it. I actually tried to design and 3D print something very similar to that, and it didn't work. Simply because once you get plastic down to that thin, it's not going to be stronger than a metal tab. And one time I wanted to get that tool, but I just never did and kind of forgot about it. I did find it on eBay, and I also found a set on Crazy Toys AliExpress store where they sell that tool along with a few other bending tools. I put both of the links down in the description below, so if you're curious to get that tool, I might get one for myself to try it out, because it does sound really nice. It's basically, it looks like a metal pencil, and one end is tapered like a pencil, the other end I think is flat, and both ends have a slit, so you can fish that slit down into something, just kind of over a tab, twist it, and there you go. Really fascinating idea, and in many situations would probably be extremely handy. I need to look into getting that for myself. Again, links in the description down below. And there's another little conversation that happened on that video that started with JW Primetime, so left more than one comment. I spent New Year's Day making the Disney carousel, and now I'm on Cinderella's carriage. The carriage is making me cuss a little. And I responded to that because that was one of the first comments I got. I responded, cussing is definitely a thing that sometimes happens when making these models. And I've been there. I've rage quit. I have literally gotten to the point with one or two models where I smashed them. I think I even made a video about it once where I just lost my cool, and it was more than just the Metal Earth model because life is hard sometimes. And I think I just took a solid object and just beat the model a few times and walked away. Sometimes you got to blow off steam. Sometimes you got to take a break. Other responses to that, Daryl603, take your time and don't try to build the entire model in one go. Your results will improve and you'll enjoy the hobby more. And I very much agree with that. When I first started building these models, I was trying to build them on the dining room table before my kid got home from school, and would sometimes kind of rush. Also, when I first started building these models, they didn't usually take more than 2 or 3 hours, so it was doable. They've gotten more complicated, and I've started paying more attention to detail, trying to anyway, and 2 or 3 hours is not enough. I've gotten to the point where I've got my own workstation that I build everything on, and when it's time to take a break, it's time to take a break. So yeah, don't push yourself to try and get everything done at once. Take your time. If you get frustrated, walk away. If you need a break, walk away. In the end, you'll have a better result. And Albert Fish also commented on JW Primetime's comment about the Disney Carousel. To be fair, that model was a right pain in the arse to get right. The pumpkin shape is very easy to warp and squish out of shape. It also has some incredibly tiny pieces. So yeah, that one, I built that one and was very intimidated by it when it came time to do it, because that pumpkin shape is very difficult to get right. And it's not like you can just wrap it around something that's the right shape and pull that thing out and be done with it. It is a delicate model, and it does take some extra time. And those are some of the comments that I wanted to kind of talk about and add to the information I put out there when I made that video. It was to just kind of give some basic tools to use, things to look for around your house, and just some basic information for people to get started. But the deeper you dive into this, the more information there is to give, and the more there is to learn, the more tools there are. My table is a mess with tools that I have used, no longer use, new stuff, old stuff. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. It is the beginning of a new year as well as the beginning of a new month, so I do want to take a moment, beginning of the month, to thank my Patreon supporters for supporting this channel. I'd like to thank this month Andrew S., Chris Paskowich, Giovanni Filardo, Hugh Morrison, Kaj Nielsen, Kamal McCoon, Ken Crowan, Kendall Fargo, Man Hong, Timothy Vogel, and Willie Porter. Thank you very much for your contributions to this channel to help me financially continue to make these models, make these videos, and keep moving forward. Not only do I thank you, but I'm sure a lot of the people who benefit from these videos thank you as well. A lot of new people who are opening up new Christmas gifts and discovering something new. That is awesome. I'll see you next week. As always, thank you for watching, and keep on keeping on.